Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we would allow city staff to offer Ronald Tice the confidential approval amount in addition to a trio allowance not to exceed $3,300 plus travel expense.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is adjournment.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Brown, we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who got it? Bob Richards got a second. No further discussion, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Okay, we're going to adjourn.
Getting to know we're twins, that you
Whoa.
Have a battle royale cage match.
I didn't have time.
Okay, Katie, do you have anything else?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn?
Just be any questions on the treasury report that we put out, and that's it. Being pretty good round across the board.
Looks good. So the treasury report's in your packet. Okay, we'll move on to discussion items. Looks like we're gonna go to a vehicle impound facility, proposed by, the police department to a new location. So I think it's something that's definitely needed.
What we've done is we're just kind of looking up at the old city dump. There's some room up there that we could put an impound lot in, but we kind of need approval, or who do we got to go through to get approval to build up there, because apparently none of the city department heads actually own any of it, but the city as a whole does. So before I get too far into it, I'd like permission from you guys to start getting stuff around to be able to put an impound lot at the old city dump rather than on North Campus, so that you can continue to develop North Campus without having an impound lot in the middle.
Well, it sounds like you've talked to the department heads and they've.
I have talked to the department heads, Ronnie Sport Leader, and actually we're looking at is in the area that he has power poles and stuff. And I spoke with Ronnie about it, and he's in favor of it. And he would put us a vapor light up there on the telephone pole, and we have some chain link fence up there already that's just laying and rolls up there. Apparently came down from when they redid the water plant. So when there's materials up there, it's that way, yeah, you're right, Counselor. So there's stuff up there we can utilize to make this work for us, but it would get it out of your development area.
I think it's a good project, and I think we need to proceed with that, the future, to sell lots up there, and the people who've already purchased a home up there, I think it'll really make that a lot nicer site for them to look at.
Question, Dave. It will be back up in there quite a ways. It won't
Yes,
be like
sir.
the one- See, they had one up there before, and they brought the vehicles clear out to the highway.
No, you're talking like when you go in, you can either go in off 8th Street or you can come in off of 24.
Yeah, right there off 24.
If you go all the way up to that corner where they got the shed on the concrete pad, back in that northwest corner,
Okay.
that's where it's gonna be at. So you would have to drive pretty far to the dump to go to the impound lot. I mean,
Is it gonna be on the north side of that?
right, where they got all the poles and stuff, sir.
Yeah.
And there's 2 gaps up in there that Ronnie said he wouldn't even have to move anything.
That sounds like you got it pretty well scoped out, I guess.
Good enough for me.
I think we need to move forward with that project.
Yeah, the north campus is probably never meant to be permanent.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah, it
cars?
turned into a permanent deal. I never expected that many cars.
How many cars you got?
We have right now currently there's 13 of them.
That counts the counties though, right?
But that also counts the counties as well, yes, sir.
What are you gonna do with those vehicles?
The
how
ones,
long do you have to
there's probably 8 of them we're gonna junk. And the crusher will come in and get those cars out of there before we move. And then the rest of the cars, we're waiting on court proceedings for forfeitures. And once we get the forfeitures, we can proceed to auction them.
is county gonna use your impound
They,
lot?
they will utilize the lot too, but they're talking about splitting the cost with us of getting it built.
We can provide the materials and they can provide the labor.
Right, and that was kind of what Sheriff Doherty was talking about as well. The VOTEC has agreed to do the actual dirt work with their students, and it would only cost us fuel.
Good project.
Does that include all the county cars too that they get?
Yes, sir, it would.
I say do it.
Okay. Move on with that project. Thank you.
What did I say?
Next, we'll talk about the police department PC and IT services that's been proposed to.
And
keep up with the
at this
technology.
point, I will turn this over to Cheryl Lucky, who is my IT representative. So she knows what she's talking about, and I do not.
Cheryl, you want to come up here? We have trouble getting Dave to come this far forward.
I'm loud enough, everybody can hear me.
going to? We couldn't hear what he was
Did
saying.
everybody get a copy of this?
Yes.
Yes.
Basically, what it boils down to is the police department right now is in a position where they need to replace their server, they need to replace several computers. And we can do that, or we can come in with what I proposed here, which is what we call TAS, or Technology as a Service. This will provide new computers, new server, Microsoft Office, antivirus, and all the labor and everything needed to keep the systems up and running. Technically, it will be owned by Nextech, so if a computer breaks down on a hard drive, it's replaced. This is a monthly billing, a 36-month term, and it covers virtually all labor and everything. It's a one-time investment at the end of 3 years. We come in and evaluate what needs to be replaced and upgraded again, and continue on with the contract if you so desire. The advantages are that you never have to worry about your budget. Let's say you get a virus, or you were hacked into, or there was a big storm and you lost a lot of equipment. You're scrambling around trying to find the budget to put this all together, to get equipment replaced, and have your files. This also includes backup, both on-site and off-site, so that if something like that did happen, we've got the backup, we can put it back on and make sure that you're protected in that perspective. If you were to replace the server, you're looking between 8 and 10 grand just to purchase it outright. PCs, between 6 and 800 a piece. Then you have antivirus and you have Microsoft Office, which is gonna run you probably around $250 to $300 per license if you buy it outright, or if you go with Office 365, and Dave and I have discussed this before, you have to buy several licenses and it's a yearly subscription, and it's just an ongoing deal. This way your Office license is covered. Also, battery backups are provided. Now Dave opted not to go with monitors because he felt like his monitors were good enough to get him through this, and we're going to put Dave's and Scott's, right?
Yes, ma'am.
PCs on managed service, and at such time he gets ready to replace those, we'll move him up into the category of Nextech provides the equipment, we just roll him into the 8150 a month. I mean, everything is covered. If he's got a problem, it's monitored daily, 24/7. I have and actually, since we are kind of new, I used to be with CSI, we came over to Nextech. We did the tour of their facility. They have people in this facility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And they have monitors everywhere, and they're monitoring every single network, PC, and server that they have on their TAS services. So if it sees a problem, we're probably gonna know it before you do. And have somebody either remote in and fix it, or send somebody out. And mileage would be covered, there'd be no trip charges, which I think now you're paying trip charges plus labor plus,
Realistically, we're paying anywhere between $950 and $1,000 just for a quarterly check. And that doesn't account the hardware we own. The good thing about this particular service is I don't have to worry about our technology updates anymore because I'm not really good at that. And our server that we currently have is 8 years old. We're probably lucky that nothing's happened to it at this point. However, again, technology is not my strong suit as far as computers and software. And so I went to my resident expert, and she said this would be the way to go. Is that we don't own the hardware. If something goes wrong with it, anything at all, guy trips, falls, knocks it off the table, it's not mine.
Servers, they recommend replacing every preferably 3 to 5 years. PCs, same thing. Technology changes so fast anymore that it's hard for everybody to keep up on hardware and software.
Matt,
I have a question about, could you talk about the confidentiality of this, of the information that we're putting into that? Like, does the police department have sole access to that, or does Next Tech?
No, we have no access to the data. It is encrypted when it leaves here, encrypted on our offsite storage facility. And if it needs to be restored, we can install the means to do it here on a new machine or whatever. And they have their password code to get into it, and then we can restore it back. And we do sign confidentiality agreements. If that needs to be done, we'll do that, make sure that's in place.
So you would transfer then, Dave, all of the state software and everything else?
Everything that
I
we're
would
currently
control
running on
all of
our old stuff they would transfer it.
Yes.
I don't have to get anybody in there to try to do it. Their techs would come in and set everything up,
Yeah,
transfer all the hard drives over to the new stuff, as well as our software that we're currently running. And as she told you before, that the good thing about the backup is if something were to happen, I wouldn't lose that data. A lot of the bigger agencies are already doing this. We're not new by any means out of it. Like I said, servers, it's not something you normally think about in the course of your day. And it's just getting to the point that our hardware is old and our software is continuing to move forward with the state's reporting systems, and my hardware is not keeping up. And they will give us our own firewalls, our own broadband,
Right.
Wi-Fi of our own. Right now what we're running off of is what the county's not using.
Right.
So whatever
Yeah.
broad part of they're not using on their bandwidth, we're getting the leftovers.
Right. And we did discuss that you may need to call Cunningham to have a separate drop put in. But in this total here, we will be providing a firewall that will be monitored, that will be updated, and, you know, just basically kept in the loop on everything, as well as wireless connectivity that is secure and encrypted within the police department. That's all included in this total. And there will be a battery backup on the server. There'll be all sorts of protection put in place, the antivirus and the monitoring and the whole 9 yards, so.
Is this budgeted for?
Actually, it's not as far as the computer part of it goes. As far as like office supplies, it's not going to come out of there. But I have budgeted for office equipment and what we call safety items. So the only reason I'm asking about it is it's a $13,000 expenditure a year.
Right.
So I'm just kind of saying, hey, I mean, monthly it won't exceed my spending authority. But it's kind of a change from what we've done in the past. So I wanted to let you guys know what we were thinking and why we were thinking it. The technology does change so fast, as most of you already know. And with the changes that the state gives us that are mandated that we stay up with, some of their computer programs that we're using for data collection don't run on some of our systems because they're that old.
And, you know, if that server, as old as it is,
Hey, don't jinx my server, okay? I already said it's 8 years old. I already said it's 8 years old. We're lucky we haven't had an issue before now.
exactly, Exactly. If it were to have an issue, they're down. And
We're done. Everything that we've done for the last 8 years is gone.
This is not a $13,000 increase.
No, sir.
There would be an offset for what.
There'll be an offset for what I'm paying the Networks Plus out of Manhattan right now. So
I mean, this
part of
happens.
the service contract that I do with them, like I said, just for a quarterly check that we do every 3 months, they're charging me $950 for it, and I still own the hardware. And we're paying those.
$4,000 a year to come.
Correct, but that's just that. That's not anything else that they do. I have to buy the licenses and the software, and so every time that comes to a new update, I just have to buy new stuff.
How often are the licenses purchased?
The licenses generally come when you get a new computer, but what we ran into this last time is why we had to buy certain licenses in some new computers, is because we had computers that were so old that they didn't even make updates for it anymore. The Windows Vista and all that, it went defunct last year, and that's what we were running on.
This also makes sure that all of your Windows updates and security patches are current and applied on the PCs, laptops, and the server. And those are critical. If you don't get some of those security updates, and there happens to be malware, or spyware, or a virus that will take advantage of a patch that's not in place, you know, you've got that break in your security, it'll get in. The antivirus is updated via the web daily. I mean, it looks, if it sees it needs updates, it updates it. Where that's a part, if you were to do that, let's see, under 10, this Bitdefender antivirus that we use is $5 per license. Worth throwing that in. Microsoft Office, like I said, is going to run you around $250 to $300, depending on whether you want home business or professional. We use the SPLA licensing. It costs about $10 per machine, and I will tell you that I'm throwing you and Scott's in. So it would be included, not charged.
Well, you have a question?
Are we going to consider this kind of a deal when the office server comes up?
We are, and we've already talked about that, yeah. She's one step ahead, yeah, I can tell you that. We've had those discussions already, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that'll be, I didn't know you guys, is this something that CSI
We
offered
did,
that?
it was a little
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had looked at it with CSI.
Yeah.
This is better.
Next
My
Tech
opinion.
actually offers a better solution.
Mhm.
We had an upfront, you know, you pay this
Yeah,
and this
fair
setup,
enough, yeah.
and you paid for the antivirus, you paid for the Office in this, and you paid for a battery backup.
Right.
It's all included in this.
Right, okay.
And with a firewall, they had, on our old system, you paid, I think it's $99 a month. This, for the $129, I believe it is, you get the equipment, you get the reporting, you get the monitoring, and you'll get reports monthly on that Sonic wall. They'll send it to you in an email.
When do we need to put this on the agenda then, or? is it-
Yeah, with the contract be on the next agenda.
Okay, I don't know
We'll
when
move forward
we'll
with it.
proceed with. Thank you, it's a good program.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for your time.
Next discussion item is the vacant fourth ward council seat that Darlene vacated. Then what's our normal procedure for filling that?
We just advertise for that. Accept letter expressions of interest from the public on that.
And then we have them come in and.
Right, we'd actually have an interview before this, the procedure has been.
Are they supposed to be from the fourth ward then, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be from the fourth ward. That was good fun. Amazing when you find a look for it.
That's up here too.
Okay, we'll proceed with that then. That's it. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone, and have a good week. Enjoy the rain.
I guess you push the red button.